Have you ever been told you're too much? Too sensitive, too emotional, too blunt, too real, too honest, too aware? Maybe you've spent your life being told to stay quiet, to keep the peace, to stop rocking the boat, stop asking questions, to stop talking about things that make other people uncomfortable. If that's you, this episode is for you. Because today we're talking about truth, the cost of it, and the loneliness of it, and why healing begins the moment we stop lying to ourselves. Welcome back to Unbound and Rewritten with Laura. Hi, I'm Laura. This podcast is for the truth tellers, the black sheep, the fighters, the protectors, and the cycle breakers. The people who refuse to settle for surface level healing. The people who know deep down that freedom begins with truth. Today's conversation is about being raw, real, blunt, and honest, not because honesty is easy, but because healing is impossible without it. So, as we were talking about episode 1 in my story, I was letting you know that one of the cycles or patterns that kept repeating in my life, even still to this day, is the fact that ever since I can remember when I was little, I was always the one telling the truth. Always the one telling the truth and the only one telling the truth. So whenever, my sisters would do something, they would say that I did it and I'd get in trouble. In the foster homes, they said I did it and I got in trouble. The sexual abuse that was going on, I told the parents, I told CBS workers, I wasn't believed. There's been stories in my past where, I have 2 children. One is 26, one is 19, 7 years apart, 2 different fathers. This is the one that sticks out the most because it's the most hurtful. So for whatever reason, obviously at one point we got along, we were together, we had children, but for some reason, later on down the line, things started to get twisted. Instead of them just telling the reality and the actual truth of things, they decided to make up stories that are actually not true at all, and even input me in these stories when they don't know what the hell they're talking about, because it was either way after them when I didn't talk to them anymore, or when we were together, just made up shit basically. And then, then your children believe it. And especially when they have, father wounds from them not being around in their lives when they're little, they don't want to rock the boat. They're going to take their side regardless. And I think another pattern we see is that when you're the strong one, oh, she can take it, she can handle it, things like that. So that would be another one, constantly telling the truth, saying things aren't true, that the fathers are saying, but yet, once again, you're not believed. Another one would be 2 different stories with having to go to court with both of my kids and literally telling the truth about literally everything and the judge not believing me. So once again, a pattern of always telling the truth and never believed. That is very hurtful, especially when the ones that you want to believe you, which are my children. I believe that a lot of this has to do with breaking cycles as well, that you're just kind of put in scenarios and spiritual situations where, you have to be the one to go through a lot of shit that you normally wouldn't, that has to play out in your life, and you and your children sometimes have to be the pawns in the scenario in order to break it. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes. But nonetheless, at the same time, you're still a worldly person and the shit hurts. So one thing I've learned is that people love honestly until it challenges them. They love truth until it exposes something they'd rather avoid. Growing up, I was often told I was too much, too outspoken, too aware, too sensitive, But looking back now, I realize I wasn't difficult. I was discerning. I saw things that didn't make sense, but given the gift of wisdom, I knew. I saw dysfunction, I saw manipulation, I saw abuse, and I couldn't pretend not to see it. That made me the truth teller. And in my families, and in many families, the truth teller becomes the black sheep, not because they're wrong, because they're willing to say what everyone else is avoiding. So basically, another pattern on both sides of my family is drug and alcohol addiction. I've always been the fixer, saver, rescuer, self-sacrificer, the one that's always been there to try to help every single last one of them in my family. And, because I love them. Obviously, I didn't want to see them go down that route, and I wanted to do everything I could to help them. But back then, I wish I knew what I knew now, and that's, a lot of growth I had to go through in that area, that's for sure. A lot of pain and struggle for no reason for me. I had to realize, even what I was doing was hurting me more than them. I mean, it wasn't affecting them at all, actually. But basically, at the end of the day, I'm the one that paid the price for all their decision makings, all their bad decisions. I'm the one that paid the price. And at the end of the day, when the time came, they always turned their back on me, and lied, per usual. I think that's how it always goes, You have one against the rest. So you have a dysfunctional family and they all stick together because they don't want to be exposed. The truth hurts. That means that they would have to hold themselves accountable. They'd have to admit things that probably they're shameful of. So the easiest thing for them to do is just basically gang up on you, or me in this case, and make up shit that's not even true. I mean, even them, they'll make up stories to your own children just to get shit off of them, unfortunately. For years, I learned what happens when people stay silent. Abuse continues, cycles continue, pain continues. Silence protects dysfunction. And that's just not something I was ever going to do. I've never been somebody that could pretend if I wanted to. I'm somebody that doesn't wear masks. And I'm just somebody that doesn't give a shit what people think. And I don't care about opinions, about what people think about me. So, in that sense, it's made it easy. Truth creates change. That doesn't mean truth is easy, like I just said. So, sometimes truth costs relationships. Sometimes truth costs approval. Sometimes truth costs belongings. But I'd rather be rejected for who I am than accepted for who I'm pretending to be. There's even been a few times where, I've been asked by family members to help them out in certain situations. I've even given up my own home and moved me and my children and theirs to help, my nieces, for example, through the brother I gained through a marriage. And, he just didn't have a babysitter anymore. So I was like, okay, we can help each other out and save some money with rent. But at the end of the day, it was only 30 days later, and, he got back with his girlfriend. I came home one day, they locked me out, wouldn't let me in. Obviously, the cops don't get involved in that. It's civil and judge stuff. I had 2 little small children at the time. And I walked away with just what we had on our backs and had to start all over. And I probably had to do that, I did it when I was 15. Just walked away with the clothes on my body. That was one of the times, with the story that I just told. There's been a few times where I've walked away with just what I had on my body and my children and started over. Like, how horrible is that? To come into somebody's life when they ask for help, when they needed it the most. You're there to help them when I had my own 2 children to worry about because I love them. and because they're family and because they're my two nieces, just to be put out on the street and all of my things stolen from. And what's even worse is that the brother-in-law that I was talking about, you know, my older daughter, it's his niece. You stole your niece's shit, her bed, literally everything. The wedding dress that I had preserved for her for when she got older and got married. All of the baby pictures and photos and very intimate memories that I had kept and saved away for when my children got older. I mean, they literally robbed us of all of that. And yeah, it hurts me given the sacrifice that I made, but even more so for my kids. And then for my daughter to still go over there afterwards, because, you know, my elder one ended up going to live with her father at the age of 13 and would still go over there. And she had to literally see her things in the closet, the bed being slept in by her cousins. It's horrible. Just horrible. So maybe you've been carrying a truth you're afraid to acknowledge. Maybe you've outgrown relationships. Maybe you're exhausted from pretending you're okay. Maybe you're carrying pain you've never spoken out loud. Whatever it is, healing begins when you're willing to tell the truth. Not to everyone, but at least to ourselves. The truth isn't what breaks us. The truth sets us free. The moment we stop pretending the moment we stop pretending is the moment healing begins. Thank you for joining me for episode 2 of Unbound and Rewritten with Laura. And remember, you were never meant to stay bound. And I'll see you in the next episode. If this resonates with you in any way, please subscribe. Please share with somebody that you think might need to hear this story. You'll see my Instagram and my Facebook information if you wanted to join me on there. And also my email also. So Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And I'll see you in episode 3. Have a good day. Bye.